Have you ever wanted to train two completely different styles of Jiu Jitsu at two very different academies? On this episode of ROL Radio, we may have an answer for you. Newly promoted black belt under Idris Redzovic, Arman Fathi discusses his journey that has taken him from Chicago to Los Angeles, where he now trains simultaneously at two of the most respected Jiu Jitsu academies in the world, Gracie University and 10th Planet HQ. Arman explains how he's used honest and open communication to get his professors, Rener Gracie and Eddie Bravo, to give their blessings on his unique situation and how each took him on as a student. Arman is living out the dreams of most jiu-jitsu practitioners, and he shares with us how those dreams became a reality. Here is ROL Radio with Arman Fathi.
Welcome to ROL Radio.
And we're live.
Here we go.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm good today. How are you?
This is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun.
Episode. Yeah.
I feel like I just saw our guest today a couple days ago.
I know. Well, we actually did, and it's not any guest. It's it's like quite a personality, and I have a lot to talk to him about. But there is this untold thing going on in jiu-jitsu. Where to train, where not to train. Can you cross-train between different things? And we're going to talk about a lot of that today. But I know you have a cool quote that you want to throw in right in the beginning. So why don't you throw that in there, and we'll introduce our guest.
Yeah, I hate reading live, but I'm going to give it a shot. And this is a quote by Idris Redzovic, and I pulled it off of Instagram and about Arman here today, and it says he will be the first on the mat and the last one leaving, training 2-a-days and sometimes every day of the week. He became better, and I hope he continues improving, so one day I can wrap the black belt around his waist. And
I remember that.
Yeah, and it's very apropos because I believe 1 week ago he had the honor of wrapping that black belt around your waist. So congratulations on that, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, it was still sinking in. It's like, it's unreal. It's surreal. I mean, I did my intro class with him. I got my blue belt from him, purple, brown, and black. And there's a story to each of those, sort of how they came about, different points in my life. And just, I mean, it was kind of the discussion with the Redzovics. It's like, okay, you're kind of ready. I mean, there's sort of like these rumblings we're talking about a little bit. And, what do you want to do? It's your choice as much as it is our choice. You know what I mean? At a certain point. I'm like, well, Idris is my guy. And I mean, I can talk so much about him, and just the fact that, sorry, 1 second, get my coffee throat. But I don't have COVID, by the way.
That's fine. That's all right.
Sure.
We do this remotely. It's no problem. You can cough
still
out
have my sense of taste, my sense of smell, they're intact. So those are the things.
You got to be politically correct today, so you got to make sure that everybody knows. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But listen, before we dig into the moment a couple days ago, walk us through the feelings and emotions 8 or 9 years ago before you stepped on the mat, because I know your journey. It was quite interesting all throughout. But how did it start? What got you on the mat? That's number one. Why in the world jiu-jitsu, not something else?
Okay, so very easy answer to question number one was weight loss. That was like the reason I was looking for it. Now, the reason I didn't think of something else specifically was, well, this gym was a couple blocks away, so that was one thing. My brother, I really apologize. This is the last one I'm doing. There, right. My brother.
$5 is not the last one.
All right, that's it. $5. We'll do that. I'll start a tab. Start a running tab. Debit, something. I don't know. Anyways, my brother, he had done Andre Arlovsky's gym, I think like a mile down the road. He's in Chicago. I'm not exactly sure the name of the place, but I don't even know if it's his gym. That's just the gym he trains at. And my brother lost a bunch of weight doing MMA training. Dabbled in jiu-jitsu a little bit, but he said, oh yeah, jiu-jitsu. All I remember him saying was that you want to learn how to street fight, learn Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like that's the way to learn how to street fight. And I had this like image of guys doing breakdancing moves and like Mortal Kombat, like tripping a guy and flipping on his face and
like capoeira.
Yeah, kind of what we think of capoeira right now. Like that's what I was thinking. That like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which just sounds like exotic, like just like crazy. So I remember he bought a DVD, Randy Couture versus Chuck Liddell. I think that's what it was, like one of the mid 50 UFC 50 something, 30 something, somewhere around that. We had that DVD, and I didn't know what the fighting was really. And then like someone was in someone's close guard, and it didn't seem like the guy on top was winning. You get what I'm saying? Like being in someone's close guard, I'm thinking like, oh, you're on top. You should just be like pummeling the guy. But I'm like, oh, look at him use his legs though. Just controlling the body, like controlling the posture. I mean, like looking back on it, I can kind of like analyze it a little bit more, but you could just say that, man, that's annoying. Like having someone's legs around you, that
it is.
Just jujitsu. Hear the word jujitsu. It was like using that jujitsu, little seeds that were planted. You know, I didn't think much of it. But it was that day. I remember it was like mid-July 2012. Just graduated college. I was working internship. I was working a job. It was like still living at home to save some money too. It was like lived a block from the gym. That was a stroke of luck. I mean, sometimes you're just lucky like that, you know? And said Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm like, huh. I'm like, I've been at LA Fitness, and LA Fitness is around the corner too. You know, it's got what it's got, you know, it's got some treadmills. I like playing basketball a little bit. I had an ankle surgery. I rolled my ankle. So I was out like 3 months in a cast. So that sort of had an impact on me of like not liking that. There's always fights in LA Fitness. Like guys like getting into, you know, guys want to be hard.
Guys getting that fights in LA Fitness.
Basketball court. There's a basketball court.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, you guys are shooting hoops.
Downtown there. They got everybody like.
Wait. Why guys fight on a basketball court?
He's passing me the ball. You know, I was boxing out. One dude like he jacked me in the face because like he was like he said something to me. We were like defending each other, and he was just like, "You're nothing but a scrub." I remember this is like 2010, 2011. I just got pissed. I like pushed him. And then he like started like pummeling me, and then I like fell to the ground, and the guys like broke it up. And then I'm just like holding back tears, like more out of my like emotions. Like I wasn't hurt, but I was just like, oh, like this, you know, that leaves something on you. Like LA Fitness, like you can't just go to a gym. There's nothing. It's not a spiritual thing, man. This is maybe get some exercise, sure, but it's not a sustainable thing. Like where's your sweat going? It's just going to like starting more fights. So I went to, anyways, that day, mid-July. Walked into Idris's class, intro class. You know, he's remember, yeah, he mentioned this in black belt speech. His daughter was just born. I remember him being tired. Like, I remember walking in and he's just kind of like at the desk, like a little bit. Oh yeah, we couldn't sleep, man. My daughter was like, she's just been born, and we've been up all night. And I'm like, cool. Like, sign up for the intro class and do it. I remember in the middle of the intro class, there was like some positional sparring. You remember? You know, now they don't do positional sparring in like the intro in the core class. They just do co-op mode, so to speak. And I'll talk about like how Gracie, they don't do sparring in the very beginning. They do sort of, it's all cooperation until like a certain point versus like other places you're thrown into fire. Anyways, back then we were thrown into fire. But I was 250 pounds. I went against a 120-pound kid, and like I got a sweep. Close guard, he stood up. I did like the crudest double ankle sweep you could ever possibly imagine. It was just like, more like a double calf sweep. And just pulling him, and he fell. He bowled over, and I'm on top. And then Idris walked by. He's like, "Hey, you're a natural." And I'm like, oh, get this feeling of like that was so cool. My first day, I like get like a sweep, and then you win the round because it's like if you get on top, you win the round, right? So then we restart. And that was cool. That was like that was sort of a moment. But I think the biggest moment in the intro class was he did a rear clinch. The bear hug defense, Alio Gracie, where you like put your arms up and then you back step and then you like flip a guy over. That was a cool move. For your first move in jiu-jitsu, like to feel the leverage and the guy gets under you, his weight under you, he grips here, and then you flip on your like on your head, on your back, thinking like, okay, thank God he's on my side. I remember thinking that. Thank God Idris was just demonstrating a move. He's a professional. He's showing the mechanics of it, but this was like, how many moves are there? This is like one move. You know, this is like one thing. And then like we learned like two things, and he's like, oh no, okay, we got a whole like curriculum. And then you get to the advanced class and it's like 600 moves. It's like crazy. So that it was really like the mental thing that got me like, whoa. But weight loss was sort of the target. I needed to lose weight. Like that, I was unhealthy. So I signed up for a year, like the first day. That was it. I was like, dude, this is like the real deal. Like the black, like he talked about the black belt. It takes like 8 years. I'm like, 8 years, 10 years. He's like, that's if you're consistent. Like, what? That's long. Like Taekwondo, remember doing as a kid, like, yeah, but like, this is what I like 9-year-old kids getting black belts. What does that even mean? Where is the, what is the, like, what are we doing to the term black belt? Like, it's such a prestigious, you hear black belt, you think like professor, you think like the pinnacle of where you want to be. I see 10-year-old kids, like all these kids who are like my classmates, like doing a high kick with their black belt on. Like, great, man. Like, go into an alley. Let's see what that black belt's going to do for you. No, jiu-jitsu has an age limit. That was something that the age minimum, right? 19 years old for the black belt. That's a pretty hard rule. I haven't seen that rule broken, even for like exceptional cases, maybe like 18 years old, but I haven't seen people get black belts before then. I mean, you can debate that. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen anyone.
I haven't either. That was one of the things too that I noticed when I started is, I was rolling with a couple 14, 15-year-old kids, sons of professors, things like that. And I was like, wow, these kids are so good. And I noticed right away the different ranking system. And then the fact that, he's not even going to get his blue belt until he's 16 years old. And it kind of blew my mind that, initially I thought, oh, wow, they're holding these kids back. But I don't think they are. I think that once they get that, it is such a huge achievement, right? And such an accomplishment and milestone in their lives that it gives them something to strive for, so much more so than just a belt every month. Here you go. Here's your next one. You did 50 kicks this month. You did 100 kicks the next month. Here's your next one. Here's your next one. It really makes people earn it.
And we often talk about this as a jiu-jitsu belt system, right? As a reward system. And it is such a subjective topic, right? Because it's essentially based, does your instructor think that you are where you need to be? There is no tangible goal, measurable guideline, you need to know these things to really achieve this. The age limitation for a brown and black belt is the only, or one of very few things that kind of guides that, doesn't matter how long you've been training until you're that age, you're simply not getting that blue belt or that purple belt or that black belt for that matter, right? And it's, I feel like that's like the only thing that really is measurable and put in place in the system at this time to really guide that belt system level.
Right. And it's been an attractive thing in terms of, quite frankly, selling jiu-jitsu. I mean, my first day hearing that, saying, oh, like there has to be like a grown person having a black belt, like 18, 19 years old, 19 pretty much, like they have to be a grown man. And only then, that's if they've been training for so many years and they're just like a outstanding 19-year-old. It's not going to be like, oh, you're a black belt at 19.
Yeah, it's not just handed to you when you turn that age.
Right? Who's that? I didn't know you had a dog.
I do. They're good. You guys are good?
Oh, there's
good?
More than one?
I have 2 dogs. I have a dog, Rona, and Wuhan.
So I'm guessing
you
didn't get them before February, March, maybe is around the time you got these guys?
I got them in May. They were born Patty's Day.
Oh, nice. So you couldn't name them something Irish. You had to go with the Wuhan and Corona?
Well, Rona. Not
right. Okay, Rona. I'm sorry, Rona.
So it turns out Rona is a Norwegian name, female name. I had no idea of this when I named her. This is complete coincidence to say that, like, oh no, it's the Nordic Viking female name. Like, that's why I named her Rona, right? And I tell people that's absolutely not why I named her Rona, but it's a bonus.
It's a better story.
It's a better story.
Better story. Like, oh, it's a beautiful Viking female. Rona. You're on the ship and like there's the lass. They call it the lass, right? The female. And, like, her name is Rona.
Her name is Rona.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Wuhan's just a troll. I'm just being a complete troll with that one.
Hey, listen. So you go to the first class. You love it. There's a weight goal or weight kind of a obstacle in your life at that point. How is the first year unfolding? And the reason why I'm asking is because I went through exactly the same thing. Jiu-Jitsu gave me the opportunity to lose a substantial amount of weight get in a healthy point of my life. And honestly, I don't even know. I keep saying that I would probably be dead by now if I didn't do something in my life back at that point. But I'm curious how that unfolded in your life, the first year from starting jiu-jitsu to when that weight starts coming off.
Well, for sure, it was 80% diet. I can say that. And the first year, it started with the mental stimulation. It started with becoming addicted to jiu-jitsu, but the fact that I couldn't even get through the warm-ups. That's what it was, like the jumping jacks. The old school Gracie Baja warm-ups, I think, are archaic. They're still in that. I'll go on record saying I'm not a fan of jumping jacks. I've been very public about this, very public. And I'm going to start a crusade against jumping jacks as a warm-up.
That's the best part.
School.
That's the best part.
I am like a far whatever winger that's against whichever side takes against jumping jack. But that's just me. I can spend like a whole section on it. Anyways, I was getting through that and the squats and the push-ups and then like hip escapes. I don't know what a hip escape is. Like, so inefficient, burning energy. And I'm like, man, if I can get through this, I know the rest of the class is like kind of at your pace, sort of a little bit more, crazy. So I think first 3-4 classes, I couldn't even get through the warm-up. And that's just motivation to say, like, you want to get better. It's just, it's an ego thing. Part of it is ego. I mean, it's a healthy ego in a sense. And I don't think I really crushed the ego until purple belt, at least to a healthy level. And that's kind of like its own subject, but that sort of motivated me. Like, I don't want to suck at this. That's something I said to myself. I don't want to like have my body be a limitation. Like, I feel so awkward. If you're in the prime of your life, 23 years old, and look at me, man. I'm just like flippity floppy, no base, being thrown around, breathing hard, breathing heavy. And this is cool. And I remember looking at the black belts standing up there. All the guys who were the black belts, they were like in shape. They clean cut. They seemed to just have it together. The way they talk to people, the way they like, I could see they were calm. Like, that's a radical goal. That's a cool goal. That's something worth pursuing, because if you want to go to the gym for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, the gym is a good place to go, exercise, and it's a good part of your life to have. But I like the idea of the belt system, something where your sweat actually works towards a tangible goal. And I think looking at the belt system like that can be a very useful useful tool, right? So, as a teacher, you don't want to like just have them chase the belt, chase the knowledge, you chase the lifestyle, everything. But it's good to have that little carrot on a stick almost. So that I will admit that was an early motivation for me a little bit, was, get a stripe. I'll be higher up in the line, right? Right now I'm on the corner of the line, and then it goes by like 1 stripe, 2 stripe, 3, all the way to purple, brown, and then the blacks are up there.
Was your goal to were you aiming for the black belt at that point, or you were just aiming for a next belt or next stripe? What was your train of thought?
I was definitely an anxious young guy. I was aiming for the black belt, right? And that, I think that's very unhealthy from the first day to say, it's good to have that goal, right? And ultimately, you look back and like no regrets, in a sense, but quickly learned that it's a very difficult road, man. It's a very long road. And, the next stripe, the next belt, I think it's important not to feel entitled. And this is where I want to talk about the differences between promotions between schools, and what I've seen at Gracie University, what I've seen at 10th Planet, what I've experienced with Redzovic.
Yeah, so let's frame this up before we get into that topic, because that's going to be deep, right? So,
yeah.
You're in Chicago most of your life, and then you move to California, right? And then you do something that most people don't do, or it's actually, I'll go on the ledge here, and I'll say it's actually criticized in jiu-jitsu community, right? You train at 2 different academies, right? You with Eddie Bravo at 10th Planet HQ, and then you would at the Gracie University with Rener Gracie, right? So it's kind of, some would say this is a black and white, 2 different stages, two different academies with 2 different visions, neither one right or wrong, or neither one wrong, right? This is not right or wrong conversation, but they are very, very, very different, right? So first, what makes you why are you moving to California? That's one. Let's frame that in.
Well, I'm in chiropractic school. So I started chiropractic school in Illinois, and I transferred out here. thinking to myself, why am I not out here given the opportunity? I have a window, a small window to do it. I'm single right now. I have nothing holding me back. I don't have anything really tying me down here. I mean, if I could do the same thing in California, it's doable. Let's get out there. Like, and that was a jiu-jitsu mindset for sure. I mean, it was 100% like the main reason why I want to get out to California. Weather, sure, but jiu-jitsu. And yeah, Cairo school isn't covered.
Fair enough. Your career was not the driving point. The jiu-jitsu was. I mean,
the career we made it,
player.
We massaged the career into it.
I got it.
Hold it all in. I get it.
So why are you choosing Eddie Bravo and Rener Gracie?
Well, Rener was instrumental. I think the Gracie University, the Gracie Diet book, the book that Rorion Gracie wrote, was instrumental in me losing weight. That was about 2 months in, 3 months in. I forgot to mention that at the Redzovics, when they were Gracie Baja Chicago, they had the Gracie Diet book for sale right there. It was right on the stand. You walk by it each day, just something. And I'm trying to lose weight anyway, so a few times walking by, I'll get it. Got the book, read it. One thing I liked about it was the flexibility it gave you. It gives you a set of principles, but it kind of says do what you can and discard what you can. It's very much jiu-jitsu mindset in a way. Do what you can. And that helped me lose a lot of weight. Got into Gracie University, started watching Rener Gracie and Keaton, and I really like the way they communicate, had a very structured curriculum. That was really the basis for why I want to train at Gracie University later on. Like, that was the seed that was planted at white belt. Eddie Bravo, quite frankly, was Metamoris 3. Right? I was a one-stripe blue belt when he fought Royler Gracie and did the electric chair. I mean, fantastic display of just jiu-jitsu.
I remember that match. Yeah.
Anybody who watched that match, you saw the crowd on their feet. You saw like, this is a rock concert, man. And this was I think the pinnacle of like jiu-jitsu competitions in our modern time. I mean, find a bigger match, singular bigger match for me in the last 10 years. And, we can debate that. But that for me was like the next day, myself and like 8 guys, we got to the 7 a.m. class downtown the Loop, Redzovic, trying to figure out this electric chair. Like, a little crude. We kept, there's a purple brown belt there. They had some knowledge. So we had an electric chair. It's a little crude, but we could get it. It's like, okay, this is what it is. Yeah, I got it. All right. Seed was planted. Like, about a month later, I asked Idris, hey, I want to go hit up 10 Planet Chicago. Like, maybe, just spend some time there because they have later classes. So I could do this and go there. Can make it happen. They were like $100 a month. It wasn't much, and that was, doable. And, you're learning, I can go like 4 days a week to 10 Planet Chicago and then come to Redzovic, like afternoon, morning, night class. And then, sometimes 3, even 4 days, 4 times training a day, sometimes, rarely, but sometimes. Idris was cool with it. He was like, yeah, just bring back the knowledge, He's like, don't form like a mass exodus here and take, all these, it's one thing to go in yourself and seek the knowledge. It's another to like try to recruit people to come with you. And I kind of understood that, like the stepping on the toes thing, but he didn't want to hinder me from being curious. He knew that I like had done a couple seminars. He knew that, at a certain point, like you can't hold someone back from wanting to get knowledge. And I will say personally, that made me much more loyal to Idris. That made me much more like, this is my guy. Idris is my guy. This is my home, because I know I'm not going to be hindered in, what I want to do, which is learn from everyone, take and really absorb from anyone. And we can talk about that too. But yeah, those are the reasons why I, specifically Gracie University and Eddie Bravo. Right?
So why do you think some people see this as a conflict? Why do you think some?
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to look far. I mean, there's plenty academies that will say you cannot train anywhere else. You cannot cross train. You cannot even. There are some that will go to the extremes, and we can dig into that. But it's like this is your bubble. You need to stay in this bubble. You cannot go outside of this. Why in the world this is happening in 2020?
2020. Well, I can. I don't even mind saying this. Like, I was training Carlos Lemos for about a year. He's in Downers Grove. We had some great roles, and this was while I was a purple belt, living out there, going to chiropractic school for a little bit. I asked Idris, hey, is it cool? Like, I want to sign up with Lemos. He's a high-level guy. He's in the area. Gracie Baja, I know we have that connection from way back when. So they knew each other. And Idris, like, he has no problem with it. You talk to Lemos, and Lemos, like, if, I couldn't train anywhere else was the deal. It's like, if I go there, I got to train Gracie Baja. And anywhere else, it's like, he almost knew later on, like, he couldn't hold me back. But he's just like, at least just don't post pictures of it. At least don't do that. And the concern was going to, like, he's like, he had an experience going to another academy. No, sorry. Having a student come to him, learn all the secrets, sort of, and then go to another academy and then compete, be a former student of his and then compete against his student. And then he had informed all his instructors, like, about, like, the moves, and they say, oh, you know what he's, going to do there, you know what he's going to do. And then Lemos would get, like, really upset, And
Yeah,
then,
I could see that kind of stuff, 30, 40 years ago.
30, 40 years ago. It's the internet.
Right. But now though, is it more, because there's so much information out there, is it more of an ego thing?
I find it archaic. I find it a very old world mentality. Now, I've sort of voiced this concern. And again, it's here's another example. And I will say something nice about Henette Stack, her Brazil 021.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted to do this. I've been a social butterfly, so to speak, about, jiu-jitsu, and gone out and really try to, just openly train and form bridges between people, not create divides, not create, just set things on fire. No, like, we want to try to connect the jiu-jitsu community. The way I say it, it's almost us against the world, right? So I just got my purple belt, had like a couple months off. I was, like, training a lot. I made friends with Jeff Curran. I go up to Jeff Curran's a lot, and we formed a bridge with the Redzovics. That was pretty cool. They had never really formally had a thing, but then Adam and Jeff actually exchanged seminars for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, Jeff is
Jeff's
a great guy.
guy.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. What I did was I called up 021, Brazil 021. I want to go try out a class there. Just see what's up. And I go there, and then, like, one person says on the phone, yeah, I can't do that. You belong somewhere else, something or other. But I kind of just showed up. And then, like, they let me into the class, and, like, Henette is sort of like, you come with the respectful posture. You're nice. Okay, we'll let you do a class. We're not bad people, but just we don't really support this, sort of cross training. And it is a competition mentality. And from a competition standpoint, 30, 40 years ago, I definitely understand. At the same time, we had a nice training session, became friendly, but I just see it as, like, that's what made me loyal to Idris. I didn't have a leash on me. I didn't have it where it's like, Gracie University, you're free to go whenever you want. They don't really care. Eddie Bravo, like, he understands that I love jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm not trying to create divides with anyone, right? Like,
do you think that some of those limitations come from the loyalty, quote unquote, conversation, meaning in a sense, as an instructor, there's so much time that the one devotes into a student, and, I give you all the attention all the times. I share my personal knowledge. Some would think is an intellectual property. And then you will go and take that knowledge elsewhere, and that there is a risk, because we have to say this, there is a risk that by going somewhere and venturing out, you could see the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, and you could leave.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that has a lot to do with this?
The loyalty it's tricky, because, when I think about my experience with Idris, my loyalty stemmed from that freedom.
Yeah.
Sort of not having the leash, but it is tricky, man. It's because you sort of needs to be communicated up front, right? And that's kind of where I realized my days at Gracie Baja were probably numbered from the outset, was, like, just hearing this up front, and it was communicated. I'm just like, man, I kind of got a year contract here. I'll just wrap up this contract, and I'm going to be going to open mats. I'm going to go to this guy's seminar. I'm going to be going there. And, like, if I want to share a picture for something, like, I don't feel I'm, abolishing your organization. I'm like demolishing your organization by posting that I went and did a Damien Maya seminar. You know what I mean? Like, I guess
interesting in my view, I don't understand the logic behind this. If I can go and freely look at YouTube for endless hours and find the videos that you posted, why can't I attend your class and then go somewhere else and train somewhere else? I guess I don't know. It feels like the information is so available worldwide, everywhere, that going and cross-training should not be a boundary at this point of time. I mean, I understand when internet didn't exist or DVDs didn't exist. I get it there. And there is a sense of team that I'm sure that is associated with all of this. You know, we compete against these teams and those roots go deep, 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 especially back in Brazil. Like, I get that part, that some might view this as a sign of disrespect, right? But today, when jiu-jitsu is more accessible to everybody, essentially, not only in person but online, I don't know.
What's the point?
I have a hard time following that.
I mean, I have a hard time following it as well. I don't have a problem speaking out about it. I've never had a problem speaking out about it. And I think sometimes people are afraid because of, whatever they might perceive as a repercussion. I mean, ultimately, I have good relationships with people, but man, like maybe not after this sometimes, but who knows, man?
We just ruined some lives.
Listen, man. I mean, it's archaic. I mean, I have friends at these schools who like feel hindered and are getting phone calls from their instructor saying, just chewing them out about going somewhere else, like, or going to an open mat, or posting a picture that wasn't with your rash guard on, that wasn't with your organization's, people. It's, relax, man. This is not I feel like a lot of it comes from the old world versus new world. Like, America is a different place than Brazil, right? It's not a territorial place here. I mean, America is kind of connected by commerce, which I think is a healthy thing. It's good for everyone to be addicted to jiu-jitsu. It just, I'm going to go everywhere. I mean, I'm going to come to this guy's, school and, maybe get a t-shirt or a gi or something, or that guy, and start, I'm really a fan of this place, so I'm going to start referring people to this place, or, I have a friend who lives over there. Place I would recommend going in that city is like this guy, man. He's really good, really open.
What if you actually go somewhere, learn something really, really good, and bring it back home? Now, wouldn't that be cool? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you dig in, you hang with Eddie Bravo, you hang with Gracie brothers at Gracie University. Talk about the differences between those two, because that is what's mind-blowing to me, right? So the perspective that's set outside of both of the academies, obviously, two very different visions, two very different personalities. Both organizations contribute tremendously to what jiu-jitsu is today. I mean, ridiculous, right? What is the inside view for you as you join both of the teams and you train at both of the academies and you continue growing your skill set as time goes on?
So I actually made a Venn diagram here, doing the compare and contrast.
This is the first. This is the first for us, diagrams.
Well, we were going to talk about GU, which is acronym for Gracie University, and then 10th Planet, right? So we talk about so here's an interesting comparison. Let's see. Let's look at Rener and Eddie as a CEO. First, let's look at the organizational structure. Rener is an extremely hands-on CEO. There's definitely a lot more involvement, a lot more accountability, a lot more structure as an organization. You sort of take, the yin and the yang, and all these, that's why you can have a blue belt come in and, get 300-400 students, right, under Rener's model. Like, he's posted videos about this, about just his blue belt students having tremendous combatives and kids programs, not even an advanced class, because the structure, there's scripts, everything that's scripted. They have the ways of even, communicating lessons and structure in terms of, how do we teach a move? We teach the what, the how, the why, the silent, before that it was the silent demo. Then we do like a bad guy reminders. You do a move as a bad guy, then you do the move solo. Then you remind them to the release reminders 2 and 2, you go 2, then the guy reverses, then give feedback, ask questions, help each other and something or other. Just always be safe. You always mention those 4 things: be safe, feedback, ask questions. And, every move has this. Everything in the Gracie University is structured in a way to really make it a user-friendly experience. Eddie Bravo is a very hands-off CEO. Eddie Bravo will give you, and he'll give you sort of you pay the association fee, you get the, sorry for tapping the table there. You get the name, sort of the curriculum that he encourages people to do, but he gives you a lot of freedom in how you want to run the school. A lot of freedom, tremendous freedom in how you want to market and do a lot of things. And I honestly look at it as like a left wing, right wing way of looking at it. Like the left, like they really provide everything for you. Like they're laying out the whole system for you. And I want to get like political here, but it's just as a general framework, right? And then the right will sort of like give you the freedom to really do whatever you want, right? And from an organizational structure standpoint, that's sort of two differences between them. Additionally, now let's look at the curriculum, right? So Gracie University has a very, they go very methodically in terms of their curriculum. They'll spend like 2 to 3 weeks on mount controls, 2 to 3 weeks on mount escapes, 2 to 3 weeks on mount attacks, 2 to 3 weeks on mount defense. So it's like a 2 month to 3 month mount chapter. And they go very in depth with like, move by move. It's like, we're going to do control number 1, 2, and 3, and 4 today. Then the next day, we're going to do control like 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then 5, 6, 7, and 8. Like really taking their time through each position. Probably and I don't say this is a bad thing or good thing necessarily, just as a thing, probably the slowest I've seen anyone take a curriculum move by move, right? So if you're going to visit for a week, 2 weeks, you're going to get exposure to like very few moves, very in depth. But the real gains I found in Gracie University are like training there for a long time, put in 2.5 years, 2, 3 years, cycle through the whole curriculum because you're going to get a very comprehensive understanding of what you do. Now, 10th Planet, on the other hand, complete opposite. They have a thing called the warm-ups, 10th Planet warm-ups, which is the basis, which is 32 positional flows that they cycle through every 2 weeks, and they're just hammering moves, right? So Eddie Bravo's class is straight training camp. He's not there teaching the moves. He might focus on like 1 or 2 moves, as the topic of the day. Okay, guys, let's look at the electric chair a little more in depth today. Okay, guys, let's talk about arm bars a little more today. Or today's going to be triangle day. But you're going to cycle through each of these moves in the classes, like in a 2-week sort of cycle. And if you visited for a week, 2 weeks, you're going to get so much exposure and so much, not a lot of depth into a technique, but you're going to get exposed to a lot of techniques, quantity, right? And that's sort of, I don't know how good you can get in all those techniques in 2 weeks, but it's enough to get inspired. It's enough to be exposed to the whole system. Like, whoa, there's so much more out there. So the curriculum, you could see the complete, difference right there. It's like going very slow, methodical to just rapid fire, recycle, boom, 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 drill. Right. So we talked about the organization. We talked about the curriculum.
This is not right or wrong. Like at least from when I'm listening to you, and
the extremes, but it's like
right. They are black and whites, but they are not right or wrong, right? I mean, for one person, having a very fast pace and a large variety of things is actually highly stimulating, and that's what's going to get them seeded into that environment and continue having them hungry for more details. On the other side, you'll find an individual who is like, I don't care to learn 350 moves. I want to know 5, but I want to master them to the point where they are flawless. And that is that environment that they would choose. So to make it clear, at least from my perspective, I'm curious what Gary thinks about this, but from my perspective, it's not right or wrong. These are just 2 different environments. They have created their own systems, right, from a curriculum perspective that are very, very successful. They just have a very different demographics that attend them.
For sure. I mean, if you're doing training, what do you think, Gary? Like,
I've only trained at one place. I've only done one thing, and I'm very much involved.
We keep him tied up. He's on a short leash. He cannot go anywhere.
Yeah, and it's very much based on the Gracie.
You're kind of stuck where you are, man.
I am. I need to branch out. We'll talk after the show. Once Thomas is gone, stick around. So I'm involved in that very structured environment at this point in my jiu-jitsu journey. And I haven't experienced the other side, except for maybe a seminar here or there, right? So I haven't had weeks of it. So I really don't know yet. And at some point, I'm sure I'll not go somewhere else, but, get more involved in stuff outside of this particular structure. So I don't really have a perspective on it yet. I can't say, I'm only involved in one of them. I haven't been involved in the other yet. So I don't know. For me, I don't know. I'm here to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. And, I look at like Redzovic is somewhere in the middle. They spend maybe, a week on like mount. They'll spend a month on mount. then a month on side mount or mount offense, then side mount offense, then some, side mount defense for like a few weeks. So it's kind of like a little bit faster than the Gracie University system I found. I think they kind of shorten those times, but it's very much the same idea of sort of picking the brain of the instructor in terms of their knowledge of a position. And then we're going to really look at that position in depth over a course of time. I think it's a better way for retention, honestly, is that way. Is leaning more towards like the Gracie model in terms of having a little bit of structure in terms of, okay, we're going to be talking about like neon belly attacks for a week, 2 weeks, and then like defenses, something. And, you can kind of take it from there.
Just from what we're talking about, for me, it seems like 10th Planet wouldn't be somewhere for a newbie. You know what I mean? It seems like you almost need a lot of experience, and I'm probably completely wrong, but you need some foundation already before you step in there. Is that true?
Now, here's where the organizational structure comes into play. It depends, right? Because Gracie University, it's going to be taught exactly the same way as far as combatives go. Their basics program will be taught exactly the same way everywhere in the world, right? They make sure of that. They're not going to certify you unless like you commit towards teaching it this way, like 95% this way. It's like, we're going to have our own language of it, but it's going to be structured very specific so that a blue belt could take over and like teach black belts, and the black belts will be like, oh, wow, like there's so much I'm missing. It's like, yeah, because we're teaching from the system. 10th Planet, it's sort of like every school for himself, right? So we have great instructors at HQ that teach fundamentals classes that go in depth with these moves, right? So it's not to say like, Eddie Bravo's class, he's very public. Eddie will never do an intro class. Let me say that much. Eddie will never do an intro class for a student. Rener still does it once a week, twice a week. I think with Zoom these days, he's doing like intro classes constantly. Like this guy's a gifted salesman. Like, let's be honest. I mean, when we talk about him being on Shark Tank and making a deal there to like Quick Flip is actually good, or it's a good product. It's a good company. I mean, he's, supporting a lot of, employees with that, and the academy and everything. The guy does good work. And I always kind of scoff when people want to talk bad about the guy, because like, oh man, his jiu-jitsu is legit. He rolls with everyone I bring in there. All my friends that ever come, Rener will roll with them. He does intro classes, and he runs like a whole organization. And Eddie, his classes are like the most fun thing. I mean, there's a banter to it. You're getting sweat. You're learning jiu-jitsu. He's been very, open about this. He said this on Joe Rogan. He said this, all the time at the gym. He's like, my class is training camp. I'm trying to get the best guy in the room better. Everybody else needs to catch up. My class is catered towards taking the top level and pushing the top level higher, versus, Rener's class is like, we're trying to make it applicable to everybody and give a little something that like the higher levels can like take, but really make it understandable from beginner to advanced. Right. So it is. Yeah. I mean, you look at the fundamentals programs, and that's where the structure sort of comes into play a little bit. But yeah, it's hands-on, hands-off. I mean, like Gracie hasn't even been open, since March, right? Like they've been very just kind of coy about that. And 10th Planet, I've trained with a lot of the 10th Planet guys. We kind of make it happen some way or another. But it is sort of like there's some contrasting things, but there's a lot of beauty within them, a lot of similarities I want to talk about too.
So what attracted you to both of them, to each of those, right? Because again, we can't be beating at that horse at this point. They are very, very different, targeting very different demographics. What in the world attracted you to both? Why didn't you choose one of them? Why both of them?
Well, for Gracie, you're getting the self-defense. You're getting enough gi to, I think, I love gi. Gi's my favorite thing. So you're getting enough gi to sort of, get your fix. It's not like the crazy sports stuff, but there's holes in terms of the techniques you're learning. And you have to go to 10th Planet to learn rubber guard, to learn electric chairs, to learn twister truck stuff. No one's going to delve into it like then. And then specifically, though, a better answer to your question is the individuals. I mean, Rener and Eddie, and I go to mostly Rener's class. I mean, Hidon was like teaching during the days a lot of times, so I couldn't go to his class as much, but like didn't miss Rener's. So you look at kind of the similarities between them, man. These guys love jiu-jitsu. I mean, they don't need to teach. Financially, these guys don't need to teach. They could sit back, right? they could sit back and run an organization, get the royalties, and just sort of manage it, and then maybe like make an appearance on the mat once or twice. But they're still at that age where they're teaching 4 days a week, 5 days a week. And like when I hear them talk about jiu-jitsu, it's not, I mean, it's coming from like a real place. I mean, like these are guys I want to learn from. It's the ones who don't need to teach that want to teach. Like you can give them the whole world, you know, make them a billionaire, and it's like, you know, they're still gonna be on the mats. They're still gonna be sharing what they know, and that's sort of like, that's inspiring for me to like, I want to be around these guys who sort of, you know, they're successful in their business and everything, but they're here being, you know, it's kind of a good vibe, you know.
Was that surprising to you?
That
they are still engaged from the perspective. I mean, because it's not a secret. I mean, we're not talking about secrets here. Both of them are extremely successful from a business perspective, financially stable, set for life. You know, like they don't have to teach. Neither one of them.
I wouldn't say it was surprising.
They actually so engaged.
I wouldn't say it was surprising. It was as advertised. Like that, it was almost like I'd always kind of noticed that about them. Like, I guess knowing them in person a little bit more, I hear from them like themselves. Like Rener sees this as a mission. This jiu-jitsu is his life mission, man. You know, and Eddie, he realized, this is what I like about Eddie. So he'll, you know, he's kind of like a amateur comedian a little part-time pro, small-time comedian. But no, he goes on the road with guys. He opens up sets for guys. Like he actually has a little.
I didn't know that, really.
Oh yeah.
Little skill. He's performed at the Comedy Store, and he gets like 10, 12 guys on the list from the gym. When we go, they hate us, man, because we get them for free. And we sit in the corner, right? No, the Comedy Store hates us because like we're the guys that like, oh, it's Eddie Bravo's corner. It's his guys. Okay, put us in the corner, and then like we go. He performs, and it's always fun. But he always says, anytime he's going to take a night off, guys, I would way rather be here with you guys. I would way rather, because he's like, I realize that the thing, no matter what happens, what if comedy tries to take off, he's been offered TV shows, he's been offered all these radio shows. I mean, he's been offered like good gigs on different, TV networks and everything. And he's got great connections in this world, even the music world. But he said that, I'm so passionate about the 10th Planet organization. And I realize that if I stop teaching, if I stop like trying to elevate that higher level and push at HQ, everything's going to crumble underneath it. I have to keep that standard where it's like our HQ is up and running and churning and keeping it going. And he said this to make sure that everything else kind of fits a line. So I'm like, that's a guy I want to train under. That's a dude that I don't want to miss your class when you're here. I mean, we go to the Comedy Store, but then he'll say, like, I would way rather be here. He only does Comedy Store. Like, I mean, these days he hasn't done it since like February, but right. I mean, it's once every 2 months type of thing. And even then, like he could go there every night if he needed to, if he wanted to. Joe Rogan's there like 3-4 days a night, and it's easy for Eddie to jump on one of those cards, those like 15-minute sets. You just jump on, and then like open for Joe, this and that. And they're like best buddies, so they're always trying to get Eddie there. But
I mean, that's a great sign of a leader, don't you think? Just the fact of really comprehending of how much impact you have on the organization. And even though, so let's kind of recap this, right? So he's very hands-off, you said, from organizational, from a business perspective. So there's a lot of creative freedom for individual associates or affiliates, right? But at the same time, he knows that stepping away and disengaging completely could crumble the entire business. So knowing how much power just your presence has, and that leader from the very top leadership perspective, right? And that's exactly what he's doing. He's doing enough to continue pushing forward, but gives all the creative freedom to continue driving this and continue growing it.
He's almost like spiritual, emotional support. He just cornered Tony Ferguson in his last fight, and I think one of the guys like wasn't there, like one of his coaches, and Eddie was kind of thrust into this head coach role. And he said, guys, like he went on Rogan, talked about this. He talked about it like the day after when he came to train, very open about this. Like, I'm not a head coach. Don't ask me to go in the corner and give you like, okay, you got to like feint his jab and this and that. I'm not that. On the ground, I can help you out a little bit for sure, like in terms of jiu-jitsu, but I'm there for emotional support. I'm there to like just be in your corner. And like that, he's like, I can see that helps a lot of guys. Like I'm that third coach where you got your main guys that are talking. I'm just there saying good words, like doing great. He's like, that's why I'm there. So that's just to take from his MMA coaching, you apply that to the organization, and it makes a lot of sense, man. I mean, just to have Eddie in the room, it's almost like having Henzo in the room. Like those are guys that immediately just brings a spark to the match. It's like if Eddie that's what I noticed about Henzo and Eddie and like no one else. Like literally, those are the two guys that I've noticed this about being on the mat. The mat just lights up when that guy walks on.
They have like an it factor, right? It's almost he's an entertainer too, and it's that it factor when people walk in. There's a magnetism, right? And you're like, whoa! And then on top of it, they're going to teach you something. They're not just going to, do a 5-minute set and walk away. You're going to walk away after an hour really knowing something and coming.
Yeah, and I mean, people have the awe factor. Like Henner will come on, people are like, pay attention. I did Gordon Ryan's seminar a couple of times, and it's like obviously it's like, oh, well, it's Gordon Ryan. But I think to light up a room is like you have to have that humor as well as that personality and and the knowledge to back it up. I mean, Enzo, Eddie, those are like the two guys that come to mind that makes everyone laugh in the room. Like you're gonna have a good time when those guys are teaching, but also you're gonna learn something. Right. So I think Eddie understands that part of his role is like 10th Planet is really it's like counterculture jiu-jitsu. Like he's sort of become this counterculture hero, and he just turned 50. We threw him a little surprise party. Actually, it was a nice little thing. Got some pizza and a little sign from Party City that said "Happy 50th birthday." He appreciated it. A cupcake or something. One of the girls got a cupcake. Yeah. Anyways,
hey, was there a conversation between you and Henner and you and Eddie as far as training at the other academy? I'm curious, and share as much as you want to, but this is what I'm trying to understand or establish here. There's a lot of people out there who would like to be in your position, but they are struggling with that conversation or how to approach this situation, right? And they don't want to go behind the back. There's this whole freedom concept and loyalty, quote unquote, and whole thing. I'm curious if there was a conversation on your in your situation with both of the instructors and say, hey, listen, hey, I want to train over there. How do we approach this? How did that go down?
Well, I can tell you straight up, Henner doesn't care where you're training. Not one bit. I mean, you go there, you pay their membership fees, like what, it's all good. Like you can compete at another school and then come there and just like get supplemental training. It's actually what a lot of guys do. For these Gracie schools around the world, I'm told, are like, maybe a blue or purple belt guy opens a Gracie school in another city, a black belt UFC gym, like wants to learn self-defense, wants to learn, just something different a little bit, they'll come there. Like, and that's happened. And no issue. I mean, that was, it did come up with Henner and he was like, oh yeah, you're totally fine. With Eddie, it's sort of a unique situation, right? And this is where it was like, I'm walking on eggshells. I got to be careful. And because I'd had experience with schools that didn't like cross training, and I'm aware of some of the culture that Jeff Kern and I had a good conversation about this, how he gets that side of it. He's like, on some level in a local area, I don't like people going to like other schools, just especially like not telling me. But he's like, I'm totally cool with like having friends in the community and exchanging information. But so with Eddie, he knew I was a gi guy coming in. He knew I had been at 10th Planet Chicago for a spell. I had been at 10th Planet Lombard for a little bit out in the burbs. And coming in, like, he respected me as a gi brown belt. Now, at that point, I was training a little bit at Lucas Leitch's, and Eddie was stoked about it. He was kind of the same way with, like, Idris was like, hey, you're bringing in that knowledge. Oh, he's trained with this guy, he's trained with that guy, not talking negative about it. And we never had an issue with that. Since I came in already a gi guy, he wasn't ever concerned with that. Now Eddie's gotten some complaints, and he said this too, is like he's gotten some complaints from some of the higher ups in 10th Planet. I mean, Eddie's obviously the head man, but like some of his like guys said, wait, who's this guy? Is he like he's training Gracie, he's wearing a Gracie rash guard, but then he's like Redzovic, and he's doing this check man, this and that.
Are you a spy?
Eddie's always like, right, is he a spy? Right. Which I am. I am a spy.
Cool.
I admit I'm a spy.
We'll talk about that in a moment.
I am a spy. Go ahead. Just said it.
Let's put it out there right away, right off the bat.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'll edit this part out. Don't worry about it. Let's just be.
Yeah, just got the mute button or cough. Press the button.
Yep.
Yeah. So he defended me. He's like, man, this guy loves jiu-jitsu. This guy just like, we never had that vibe that I was coming there to. No, I just want to like gather the knowledge. The knowledge is there. I have his books right here. mastering the rubber guard, advanced rubber guard, and the mastering the twister. They're sitting right by me right here. And I mean, I was all over those books as a blue belt, and I still reference them on occasion. I was already training at his gym. I was supplementing my gi. I had already done that. I had supplemented my gi training with 10th Planet once I was already with my gi school. So Eddie never had an issue with it. There were people in the organization that brought it up to him, people at HQ, and Eddie had to sort of say, no, he's cool, and we've never had an issue. And yeah, I mean, there are, yeah, it is sort of a tricky situation. It requires communication. It's something to talk with your instructor about. I think with Idris's thing, I think it was a reasonable thing. He's like, he doesn't want me to take students from our school and then go get them to sign up at another school. I think there's a reasonable sort of.
Yeah, poaching is completely different than learning, right?
I think it all boils down to an intent. What are you trying to achieve? Like that, at least in my eyes, what's the bottom line here? Are you trying to make yourself better, or, you don't want to be here and you're looking for avenues? Like, you mentioned something really, really important that often does not take place, and it's a communication. Just talk to your people. Just talk to your people. Listen, your schedule doesn't work with me. What are your thoughts if I supplemented here? What if you don't do this? What if I supplemented here? What I'm trying to make this better. This is my goal. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just trying to make myself better. And how can I do this? Right? And I think starting with that conversation, we could achieve so much more than the freaking drama that we have in Jiu-Jitsu.
And I mean, like, I look at it like this. I never left Redzovic. I just changed cities.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I lived in Indianapolis for a year. Life took me over there. I lived in the suburbs for a couple of years, moved out to California for a couple of years. But it was always like sort of talking with Idris, just bouncing it off him, with Adam, what's going on. Anytime I see Eddie's like the mystique, like you have to go to HQ to sort of see Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie's like the ghost that you don't know if it really exists.
And you see him like, hey, he's class. Whoa,
he's real.
Godfather.
Hey, listen. So before we wrap all this up, right? So you obviously you achieve your black belt. You received your black belt from Idris Redzovic just this week or last week, just a few days ago. And congratulations on this. There's a huge milestone. You and we had conversations on that. So I'm really, really proud of you, especially that I've witnessed you grow in the jiu-jitsu aspect for several years now. And this is always a emotional moment for me, watching students, not even mine, forget about mine, but just watching students go through that journey and achieve that moment. So my head goes off to you. Congratulations on that. But what's important, I think, to highlight through this entire story is that you start in Chicago, you move to California, you train at two very different places with Eddie and Rener. And then you come back to receive your black belt from Redzovic in Chicago. So why don't you walk us through this story, these last few weeks or days, however all this unfolded, because now you have three organizations that have input on this monumental moment in your jiu-jitsu journey.
Right. So it started back in December. I was actually coming to Chicago from Charlotte. I went to a friend's wedding in Charlotte. And I did a little Instagram picture, one of those story pictures where I had my belt, my brown belt hanging out its bag. And it said Redzovic Jiu-Jitsu, the thing I got. And Adam replied to that. He's like, Arman, what are you doing for, basically like, what are your plans for black belt? Essentially, like in a very like frank way that he's like, hey, I hope to see you something. It was a really nice message. And I just took it like, whoa, like my mind was spinning. Like, I can't believe Adam said this. Like, it's crazy. Like, holy moly. So I had to call my brother. I called my brother up. We talked about it and we're like, well, listen, I mean, if you want to do it, like Adam was asking, like, what are your wishes? Essentially, like, what do you plan on doing? And my brother and I, we agreed, you got everything from Idris. Like, he should be the one to do it. I think like that'd be only right. Like I've sort of like kind of, he's been my main guy throughout it all. So I told Adam this and he's like, okay, well, congratulations on reaching this point. I think, I'll have a conversation with him and, we'll figure something out, sort of thing. And I saw both of them in December and I kind of thought maybe 10% I might get on the trip or something. And like, oh man, like they just mentioned this. flying in. I don't know. Didn't get it. I wasn't like upset, but just it kind of reminds like, oh, looking over your shoulder each time, right? But then a few months went by, March came and everything shut down. April kind of get on the phone with Adam and he's like, yeah, things are crazy, but like, basically like, congratulations, like you're ready for it. Like I felt, okay, it'll come, just convenience time. April, May, June, July, August, and training all the time. And I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna fly to Chicago. I got a week off. Let me just hang out with these guys, thinking like, it's a nice time of year and everything. I'm just show up. I'm not even going to say nothing. Show up. And then sure enough, Idris and I were having coffee and this and that. And we don't talk about anything. Idris and I, we're 5 hours, hanging out like between a couple of days. We don't talk about anything. Then I go to coffee with Adam later that day, the other Saturday. And then he's telling me like, after a couple hours of talking, he's like, yeah, I think you're ready, man. I mean, like, let's go to Rats, like everything. We're like Monday at the Loop thinking about this. Monday night. Can be there, maybe I could tell a friend or two, just have a little heads up. So I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. And I let Idris know. Idris can't be there because he got to teach in Lincoln Park. And it's just the schedule. And he's like, I was going to ask you Monday to talk to Rener and Eddie because I want to give it to you Wednesday. And I'm like, well, dang. I'm like, listen, man, if 2 days doesn't matter, like, let's just do Monday morning. Because like my brain is spinning, like, if this is really happening, like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, the biggest moment in your life, like my head is like, you can explode.
You look like you're freaking out a little bit right now.
It's like, literally, like, it's just the most anxious thing in your stomach here, like the biggest goal. And it's like, we're talking about a matter of a couple days and semantics now, logistics. Yeah. Like, let's just do it like first thing Monday. Like, I don't know. So you just like, okay, like it's hard to get a ceremony, right? Because Corona. Like, so here, he's like 1 p.m. Lincoln Park. We'll do Facebook Live. He's like, this way you have a heads up. You can get a haircut if you want. I don't have any hair. It's all good. No problem. You can invite some friends, and we made it happen. And just like we did the live thing, and it was, I mean, it was a very like, I was standing there and there was like 4 people on like camera phones. It was sort of anticlimactic. Like I remember getting the belt and I'm like, you'd expect there to be like like I was expecting in my head for years, like, oh, it's going to be the ceremony, Tom, like I remember I was at your first degree ceremony and like there's a bunch of people and I always imagined like there's going to be a line of black belts and everything. I was just glad it was happening. Honestly, like all things considered, I was grateful at that moment, but also it was anticlimactic. I remember sitting there, the belt was tied and it's like 4 people there like, hey, I got some words to say, huh? Speech? Okay.
Speech.
Speech and say, I don't know. It felt like a lot of cliches. Like everything was coming out, but it was like, these are like phrases that have just been said on some meme somewhere. And I'm just saying a bunch of memes right now.
Yeah. Well, those cliches are cliche. There's always a little bit of truth in them, right?
Yeah,
There's always something in there. So,
but
were you ready?
It's a good question. So Adam, like he was asking Monday night, like essentially like the guys got to be ready to receive it as much as we're ready to give it. And it's like, do you feel ready? It was a very serious question. Like, do you feel ready?
Well, there's a responsibility that comes with this.
Well, we were talking the other night when we were here, and you said a lot of things to me. We had a 5-10 minute chat, sat around out, and one of the things you brought up was now you are more responsible for others. I'm paraphrasing, but you said something like that, and also you brought up that now you're a leader. People are looking to you the way you used to look to Idris and Adam and other people. And, I feel like you become a leader over years. It's a natural progression, but there's also, I think when you get that black belt that now that changes. Now, you have to be, if you're worth your salt, you got to make it happen. You got to be that leader for people.
I would even take it to the next level when I say, whether you are ready or not, people will look at you differently. Mm-hmm. It's that, you might have 500 people in the room and one black belt, and that one black belt will get noticed every single time, right? There is a certain responsibility that comes with that color, not only from a skill set perspective, but also from personality, how you carry yourself, the language that you use, the body language that you use, how you help people, how accessible you are, how approachable you are, whether you smile or you're down, whether you're grumpy or you're not, all that matters. That's why I'm always amazed that Adam does not have a bad day. Well, I know he does, but you would not think he does. Right. Exactly. And there's many others the same way. I think Rener is even the same. And you can speak more about this, but I've met Rener a handful of times, but I've never seen the guy not smile. There's so much energy in him. It's ridiculous.
Never has an off day. No, when he teaches, and I remember after Brian Ortega lost to Max Holloway, that was a rough loss. That was a rough loss to watch, especially everybody was going to the academy. We all met up at the bar or whatever, and watching Brian Ortega like go down after 4 rounds, man, that was hard to watch. And Rener came in the next day. He was, he opened the class 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm very proud of Brian. We were in the hospital, and he said, "Sorry, man, Rener." And I'm like, "What do you have to be sorry for? Like, you've done so much." Then he started teaching, and he just brought the fire. Like he changed. I mean, you could tell he was affected. He was in the corner of his fighter that just had like lost, and he brought the fire, man. I don't know if you hear my dogs.
Yeah, somebody's whining back there, right?
They're my dog. They're good. You guys good? Okay, they're good. But what was I going to say? Something. One thing about Rener, he says that a leader creates other leaders. Leader doesn't create followers.
Exactly.
A leader creates other leaders. And I look at like Idris was always the same way. Like Idris was more concerned about, let's make you into a man. Let's make you into someone who leads your own students, change others' lives.
Yeah, and that's how I look at it personally. You build people who at some point they will take your spot and they would build even more, right? And I think that if you look historically at any type of leaders, not only in jiu-jitsu, but just, in business or just around the world, the people who are able to produce more leaders, the people who will continue the journey, they will continue the path, that they continue the vision and continue building on it, those are the most successful ones. Not the ones who limit, not the ones who keep them on a short leash, or however you want to slice that one. So
this has sort of been the realization as a black belt, is like, I have to be that kind of guy who empowers other human beings. I don't want to just like have this position and have guys, hey, look at my black belt, and like strut the stuff. And then, you're exploiting that, and you're exploiting people's weaknesses for that. No, you want to use that as a tool to help others.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Arman, before we wrap this up, we got 5 questions for you. We didn't tell you about these. You don't know what they are. We kind of shooting this off the hip every single time. Gary's going to lead this. But often, those questions lead into interesting comments. So try to be short on the first thing that comes to your mind. Just shoot it, boom, and we'll just spin it.
All right, here we go. What was it like the first time, and you talked about this already a little bit, but what were you really feeling the first time you stepped on the mat emotionally?
Emotionally? Man. Curiosity. It's a little anxiety and curiosity. It's kind of both, like nerves, a lot of nerves, am I going to get through it? But there was a curious feeling for sure.
Cool. What is your most rewarding achievement?
Not necessarily jiu-jitsu related.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, but it definitely can.
Actually, this is something I was going to talk about. So Rener and Eddie. So here's an interesting thing. I remember I did the Amsterdam camp for 10th Planet last year. And Eddie was there. I had taken a couple of quick flip hoodies, right? So Rener had hooked me up because like for jiu-jitsu times he did a little something for me. And I said, like, I need a couple hoodies, man, for this trip. Can you hook me up? And I like did the whole like flip for Eddie. And long story short, after connecting them, like Eddie ordered something from Rener, right? So that created like a commerce between them, because Eddie sort of like, they formed a bridge, a business connection. Like that sort of made them closer. Like Eddie started selling hoodies with the 10th Planet logo. It was cool, like for Rener. And then like they kind of blasted it out together. And then Homilo Bahal and like a couple of Henzo's black belts and other people ordered hoodies and like started.
I did notice that. I noticed, this was a while back, but I noticed that. And I was wondering how in the world that came along. I was Rener is, because it's his stuff, just branded with 10th Planet. I had no idea that you had something to do with this. Good for you. That's awesome, man.
I was the liaison going to Rener and saying like, Eddie's interested in this. And then, okay, like go to Eddie, bring a sample. No, I don't like it. Send it back. And like, I physically took the sample back to Rener, and like Rener was like all over, like he gave it to his person, but he sort of serviced that account. Usually he hands it off to someone, but he's like, no, Eddie will like, you hand it to me, then he'll take care of it instead of just like put it at the front desk or something.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So we made that happen, and they formed a bridge. It was cool. And it was like a cool feeling. And the black belt was the easy one, right? I can say black belt's the most rewarding achievement, but that was kind of cool, man. I felt
that is pretty
like,
special. Yeah, bringing people together like that, that's amazing.
It wasn't even winning anything. It wasn't like a competition. I've won some competitions, nothing crazy, but like a couple, gold medal, you feel good always tapping someone out or something. But that was to answer that question. I mean, that I think that was one thing I was going to mention, actually, that it was cool to form a bridge.
Yeah.
Or there's another thing too, was like meeting Jeff Curran on this at this jiu-jitsu camp. He knew Adam by reputation, Adam Redzovic, right? So he, but he didn't know him personally, but he's like, hey, I'm going to be in UFC next week or Chicago next week for UFC. He was cornering a fighter. He's like, are you guys like having gi class? I'm like, yeah. I think Adam teaches like Tuesdays or Wednesdays or something. He's like, cool, I'll bring my gi that week. Oh, right on. And I hit up Adam. He's like, hey, Adam, can you like be here? You're going to teach Wednesday night. Like Jeff Curran's coming. Adam's like, I'll be there, brother. Tell him I'll be there. Cool. And then Jeff came, and then him and Adam, like it was a real like cool thing. They did a couple rounds, and from there they formed a connection where Adam went and taught a workshop there. Jeff taught a workshop there, sort of created two different schools, two different factions. Like, hey, the students are cool to go, between them. And this was just from a friendship. This isn't because like we're part of the same affiliation or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That for me, I mean, I think those are two moments that, man, that like it did something for me that like I love that. You know what I mean? Like forming a union between these different schools, something like being the antithesis of sort of the traditional model of like, why can't we form bridges? Why can't we respect that? Oh, you're this academy, you're this lineage. That's beautiful. Let's celebrate it. Let's exchange knowledge. Like, let's have a good time. We see each other at a tournament before and after the match. We're friends during the match. You could try to kill each other. That's great, but it's just a competition. It's not life. You know what I mean? Like that's not the that's kind of how I see it.
Well, that's great. I'm glad we got that.
Not building walls.
There you go. Don't get political.
Forming bridges, man. Forming bridges, I think, does it for me.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to ask that because it didn't seem like maybe we weren't going to get you to be able to say that, and the question worked right into it. So fantastic. I'm going to guess I know the answer to this one already, but have you ever wanted to quit?
I mean, there was moments I was like, not maybe after my first year of training, like I took this Gracie University online exam and like I failed it 1 year in. I got like a 70%. I sent in the videos and I did the combatives class. The combatives like video exam. You can like test for your blue belt. Back then they didn't have a combatives belt, a white belt with the blue stripe. They give you a blue belt online. I was already a blue belt with the Redzovics. But I sent in these videos and I failed. And I was so upset, and I like burned a bridge with a guy that I didn't need to burn that bridge. And he was teaching some classes, and I just like, I go to his class and I was just like, why did I speak out like I spoke out? Why did I say what I had to say? Kind of a life lesson. And I just, I didn't come close to quitting. I think to answer the question very clear, I didn't come close to quitting, but I thought to myself, man, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit because of this. And that was like the one moment that the word quit even came in. It was like, am I going to like just not show up to his classes, or I don't know, maybe just gut it out, just find another place, or didn't find another place, but ended up going to 10th Planet 2 maybe during some of those nights. But it's just, that was the only time quit came in my vocabulary. So no, I never really considered quitting.
All right. We talked a lot about you receiving your black belt just a few minutes ago, but I don't think you did say a little anticlimactic or whatever, just because of the way the situation is this year. But describe your feelings when you received it, when it went around your waist. What were you feeling?
This belt is very big. The belt is a little too big.
You strap an A5 on you?
The excitement, I mean, I think it's something to be said about like, I get the surprise aspect. Like sometimes you want to go and be surprised with something. I think there's so much anxiety, and we'd already talked about it, that it was just nice to like, let's set a time, set a date. So I was very excited going that day. And I kind of joked with a buddy who was there. He was like telling me his problems like 10 minutes before, 5 minutes before. Like he trades in the stock market. He's like, man, it was up this much, and then I went down this much, and then went up this much, and down this. And I'm like, bro, today is not about you. Don't make this about you right now. Give me today. We'll talk tomorrow. Like, just I don't want to like process. So I was just trying to like purge everything else of that day. But that was a good buddy. I try not to say that to like the average person, but You're like,
Yeah.
dude, it's not about you, man.
Last one.
All right. Here's he's the antithesis of the old school, I guess. So I know the answer to this. Do you wash your belt?
No, I don't watch the
God.
No, I still believe
Gary
that
keeps a tally of this, and right now
Yeah.
he's losing miserably. So
I think cheating to wash your belt, because ultimately sometimes when I came home as a 4-stripe blue belt from Indianapolis, I was a 4-stripe blue for a year. Idris saw how beat up my blue belt was, and I think I washed it like once or twice, but like he saw how beat up it was, and then from that he gave me a purple belt. He saw me rolling too. He saw me rolling. He's like, he's ready. So I think it's cheating to wash your belt because it shows it's going to make it more frayed, and it's going to, frayed. It's going to make it more like beat up, and it's going to give that impression to your coach. Oh, look how hard I'm training. Like, look how. No. It's because you wash your belt.
No.
That's so you got to ask that.
Well, how about this? Then I'm gonna tell everybody to wash it with Woolite by hand, then, so it doesn't get frayed.
It's got blood on it, or like just so putrid and like extreme. Like you left it in a sweaty bag for 2 weeks. Come on, I've been training like almost a decade. It's like I've seen, not as long as time. Time's like man, but like after a while you see the things like good hygiene things, man. I've picked up sanitation things over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Picked up like diet things over the years. And one of it's like, don't leave your belt in a sweaty bag with sweaty clothes and let that sit for a few days.
So
Then it's going to smell like a friggin' zoo when you open it, man. Then it's like you got to wash your belt, because if you don't, you're going to come to class and people complain. I've been there, man, especially white blue belt.
Yeah.
So try to take your belts out like right away and like don't wash it.
Don't wash it. Don't wash it. That's the message. Don't wash it. Arman said, don't wash it.
All right.
It's just my opinion.
Listen, amazing story. I love the fact that we could get you on the show and you were able to share some of those important information, important messages that are inside your head and the experience, life experiences that we've gone through in the past 80 years. Congratulations on the newly received black belt. I'm really, really proud of you. You already know this, but I'll say it publicly. Anytime you're in Chicago, I want you to swing by. And now, hopefully when you're coming back, we can do a seminar at our academy as a black belt. I would love that. That would be amazing. Sharing some of those tricks and secrets that you have from California. How can people find you on social media if they want to, connect with you or see more of you? Where can they find you?
Instagram, _Arman_Hammer, the Arm and Hammer. You can find me on Facebook too. There, that's kind of like try to be more personal. But if I see you're a jiu-jitsu person, usually spam. But Instagram, like for sure, is my favorite way.
All right.
All right.
Beautiful. Thanks for being on the show again. Stay warm in California.
Oh man, it's 105 degrees right now. Like
why you had to say that? Why?
I'm happy with
close my
70.
door. I put the AC on. Like I don't want to be outside right now. Like it's not all rainbows and sunshine. I mean, there's sunshine.
I thought he was going to say
Oh, it's not rainbow.
It's not rainbows at least.
All right, man. Great talking to you today. Take care.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. And we know we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to ROL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.